You ever consider the nature of fire? It's so beautiful. I mean, it provides warmth and light even on the coldest and darkest of nights. Yet it's dangerous. It's so essential to life, but be careful, because get too close, you'll get hurt. You'll get burned, consumed even. As a shepherd overseeing the flocks that get used in temple sacrificial purposes, I'm well acquainted with the all-consuming power of fire. Sorry, I guess the night brings out the philosopher in me a little bit. I don't have much visitors up here very often. It's kind of nice to see somebody that I can talk to other than the sheep sometimes. Their responses start to seem the same. Well, not many people really like being around a man who smells a lot like they do, if you know what I'm saying. But, you're lucky. The rain has stayed away a couple of days, and, it's still early enough in the evening. There's no dew on the ground yet, too, so I think that plays in your favor. As I understand it, the smell of wet wool is an odor most foul. At least, that's the gist of what I catch when I venture into town. I think it's best if I just keep to myself up here, My father's family has been shepherding and herding for generations. As the youngest, it fell to me to take on the family business. It's not necessarily an inheritance that a lot of sons are looking forward to. I didn't really hope that I'd take it over myself, but necessity called. Each of my brothers, I watched one by one as they got married, and then they took on the trade of their bride's father. I mean, they had a chance to go on an adventure, to gain an apprenticeship, and to really choose what they were doing in life. Honestly, I had some dreams in life. I was going to get married once. Well, as a dutiful son, I knew that I had to stay. I mean, somebody had to. Not to mention, what kind of woman is really going to want a husband who leaves her for weeks or months on end, or better yet, drags her around the hillside with babes in tow? Honestly, I saw the effect that had on my own mom growing up. It's interesting. A shepherd can have a home, but whether or not he lives there, that's a different story. Living a life of isolation, it's not really for the faint of heart. I don't think I'd really wish it upon anybody. But don't get me wrong. Shepherding is a noble task. I mean, even glamorous. Hear me out. We claim people like Abel and Jacob and Zipporah and King David as our heritage. In fact, not to brag too much, but our family, we're kind of known as shepherding royalty around these parts. Nothing like King David, okay, but royalty in our own part. We are the premier choice for sacrificial lambs at the temple during Passover. Well, yeah, I make money selling some wool and maybe selling some lambs for meat, but the big money comes from people who are willing to pay for a lamb without blemish. The more perfect the lamb, the greater the atonement. But, maybe you know this in the work that you do, but perfect lambs don't just happen. It takes my time. I spend nights in the field. I'm talking with them, I'm sleeping alongside of them, I'm finding the choicest pasture lands for them to be able to eat, and I watch vigilantly for predators. And another thing is the terrain. If one of my lambs breaks its leg, I will mend that leg and carry it with me everywhere we go until it's completely healed. And in case you haven't noticed, lambs aren't necessarily the brightest. I honestly think it's just in their nature to wander off and get themselves in trouble. But honestly, I don't know. I think that's what draws me to him. I must admit that I've got some favorites. I get to know them and talk to them. But that's what's so hard when it comes time for sacrifice. I mean, they trust me. They know me. They blindly follow the sound of my voice. And so I call to them, I look them in the eye, and then I hand them off to be slaughtered. Burnt on the altar for sacrifice. And for what? To find favor with God temporarily. People will always sin. I guess that's a little bit of job security for myself. I guess my job's a little like the fire. It's essential, painful. I keep hoping that God will change and find a way that we can get beyond this endless sacrificial system. Who am I? A mere shepherd to question the ways of Jehovah.